everyone. Thank you for Good afternoon. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you for having me. I just briefly want to talk about the mentoring program that we offer to our middle and high school right now, but we are interested in offering it to the elementary as well, the fifth grade particular. But the name of, again, like I said, my name is Tanya Walker. It's spelled different, Tania, and the name of my organization is called Walker Reconstruction, named after my father, for reconstruction of the mind. And we believe in personal development, life skills, social skills, different things like that. But I want to briefly just tell you a little more about it because we've been working heavily in the schools already, in Fayette County Public Schools, and we would love to be able to branch out to even more of the middle school and the high schools and the elementaries because we're seeing that this work is impactful and this work is necessary, especially at the tier 2 level mentoring that we do. So I do have some slides. I'm going to share my screen. And then just tell me if you can see my screen.
Right now, it says you started screen share. Oh, there we go. Woo!
Okay, there was a delay.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Okay, so the mentoring program that we do is called Breakthrough Academy, and it is for tier 2 mentoring part. It is for tier 2 mentoring, meaning that we deal with certain demographics. I know there's already mentoring in the schools right now. For example, um, I had a moment. For example, Sisters Keeper. And a lot of people say, well, we already have mentoring. We do Sisters Keeper. And I'll say the difference between Sisters Keeper and the work that we're doing is we have a very specific group that we're looking for. And I'll go into that after I went into that now. So who we serve are at-risk youth, underserved youth, vulnerable youth. And we also want to target parents and caregivers in our program because we're looking at trauma-informed and a trauma-informed care approach. And so for us, when you think about Sisters Keeper, any of the young ladies can join. But for us, we're looking for those that are low income, maybe single parent homes, behavioral referrals, and low attendance, poor attendance. So we're looking for a certain demographics is why we call it tier 2. Just a program overview. This program that we're so passionate about is because it is to teach them the emotional intelligence development that they need, the resilience, the emotional wellness to create that academic growth that they need. And so our groups are weekly that we're doing right now. They're weekly, they're small groups, and they're about 50 to 60 minutes for each mentoring session. I did mention earlier that we do middle school, high school, and we're looking to get into the elementary. The structure for our groups are they're 3 months or they're 6 months. And I say that because we normally start our program the way it is right now. We start our program in the first semester of a school year. And when we start in that school year, we usually allow you all the space to, for example, school starts in August. We won't start our program till September. And then we'll end in November versus December because we don't want to get in the way of all the testing and all the other programs and different things that you all do at the beginning and the end of the year. We want to let you all get acclimated at the beginning of the semester, and then we'll come in to start doing mentoring in those 3 months of the year, the first semester. And then normally the schools ask us to come back and we'll do mentoring for the second semester. So we'll do a whole school year. So that's why we say 3 or 6 months. Like I said, they're weekly sessions, 50 to 60 minutes. We also do one-on-one mentoring. And again, the difference between us is we like to pull the parents in sometimes, if at all possible. Sometimes they don't cooperate, but we definitely extend that olive branch to any type of training or counseling or resources that the families may need. The goals for this program, our mentoring program, is we want to improve emotional regulation, self-regulation, how they self-govern, make sure they're getting those basic soft skills that they may not get at home, conflict resolution. When you talk about conflict resolution, you talk about healthy relationships, you talk about team building, you talk about the things that we feel like teachers necessarily don't have the time, or it's not their responsibility, to teach those skills. And so we really hone in on self-regulation so that they're able to self-govern themselves better. They're able to have, like I said, healthier relationships. They're able to resolve conflict and just really kind of coexist with others, have better self-esteem, better confidence, whatever it takes to help make sure that our young people are growing mentally, physically, socially, and emotionally is what we're working towards. So it boosts mental health, wellness. We've increased attendance when it comes to our mentoring groups, and we also have seen a reduction in behavioral referrals. We say that with all of that, we've seen academic growth because you have to make sure that when you're coming to our groups, we want to make sure that we're working on your social emotional wellness, but we also want to make sure that there's growth there. There's growth academically, there's growth personally, there's growth socially, emotionally, everything. So those are the goals of the program. Why we feel like our program separates itself from the rest is because we really pour into not just our youth, but we pour into our mentors. And so we make sure that the more that we bring mentors on, that we're training them the same way. My background is corporate. So I believe in SOPs, standard operating procedures. I believe in having structure. I believe in having training. I believe in making sure that everyone is doing things the same way so that we get the same results. So we make sure that we have a program or in that we have specific training modules that we want to provide for our mentors as they come on. Currently, I have myself and two others that mentor with me, and we have all had this training in some capacity already. But as we add on more mentors, there's a cost associated for us with adding the additional mentors. But nonetheless, we want to make sure that as you're dealing with tier two mentoring, we can't just bring everybody in. We want to make sure that first you got to have a passion for it because it's a different demographics, but we also want to make sure that you're familiar with how to de-escalate. You're familiar with how to have compassion, take care of yourself as well. You're familiar with what mental health looks like so that you can meet them where they are a little better, so that you can be more successful, more effective, and more comfortable as well when you're working with those youth because it's different. It's not, like I said, it's not like some of the tier one groups that we work with. You never know what these kids are going through when you start talking about tier two. And while we're not all necessarily mental health, social workers or therapists, I still want to make sure that we're giving our mentors the skills that they need to be successful when it comes to working with youth that have been through a lot of layered trauma, a lot of different challenges. Uh, the the partnerships that we're looking for is why I'm here at this coffee and chat. Again, thank you for having me, is because we do collaborate a lot with our FRISC and our counselors and our social workers and our family liaisons across Fayette County Public Schools. We do a lot of work with them, and we want to continue to do that work. That is the partnerships that we need to be able to get into the schools. They usually refer us the different students that they want us to work with because you all deal with them hands-on. You all know exactly who would benefit from our program. And so we lean heavily on the FRIS, the counselors, the social workers, like I said, the family liaisons, everyone in those roles. And we want to be able to access their behavior, their grades, and their attendance to make sure that we're holding them accountable in our groups as well. And then just to wrap it up, I only had about 12 slides. I just wanted to give you all a visual, but we also want to make sure that we're measuring impact. We're measuring it short term, midterm, long term along the way. We want to make sure that we're able to measure qualitative data and quantitative data. So when I say quantitative data, we want to make sure that we do get the academic information. We do get their behavioral referrals. We do get their attendance. Is their attendance improving? When I talk about qualitative, we want to make sure that we're getting surveys, assessments, evaluations, not just from the students and how well they feel like it impacted them, those testimonials, different things like that. We want to make sure that we're not just getting that information, but that we're from the students, but that we're also getting it from the staff. And that feedback helps us. because we really tailor our programs for each school and for each group. And that feedback from the staff as well is a big difference. Especially, we want to make sure, are we making headwinds? Are we headed in the right direction? Is this resonating, or do we need to tweak it a little bit? Do we need to do something different? So we really lean on being able to measure that impact in some capacity. Um, and then just briefly, why our program and why I am here today and why I really am so passionate about what I do is because my background, like I said, is I did corporate for 20 years. I took a leap of faith, jumped, and I started this organization named after my father because I believe in meeting people where they are. I saw there was a need. And I love to work with young people. I love to work with middle school. I love to work with high school. I love the fifth grade too. But I saw that everyone doesn't necessarily like to work with that age group. But that's where my heart is, and especially also teen moms and teen dads as a side note. But as I started to go into more of the middle schools and the high schools, and I saw how much trauma they were going through. I saw how many challenges they were having. I saw but I still saw the desire that they had to want to be different, to want to be better. They just may not have the skills that they need. So once I saw that, everything that I've been through in life, my personal experiences and then my professional experience when it comes to the trainings and different things, I saw that I could not just meet people where they are, but build a structure and a program and a platform that I could scale to not just where I'm doing mentoring, but I can have other mentors come in and do the same work that also wants to do it. But one may not be able to get into the schools, but then because they're just not connected yet. But then two may not be comfortable or have the training that they need to work with this group of people. I said two mentors. I have a third one also that has a completely different background. And she was uncomfortable at first, even though she had a passion to work with these kids. But she's been working with us quite a bit. And as she's worked with us, she's gotten a lot more comfortable. She works in the summer program with me that I do with them in Lexington. So I love to be able to not just anytime you talk about personal development, I love to be able to do that for whoever I can. That's just what I love to do. That's my heart. And so being able to help our mentors, our youth, is a win for me. But why this program? Because it is trauma informed. It is very skill focused. The way that I do the program, I make sure that when we work with the schools, that we have a soft curriculum, meaning I make sure that we introduce a topic, we introduce a skill, we introduce a technique to go with that skill, we apply it, there's application, which means we have hands-on activities that help them practice that. And then we get feedback and question and answer, whatever that looks like. Tell me what you learned today. Tell me what you're going to do differently. Whatever that looks like, I make sure that we've got that soft curriculum so that there's a structure for us, but also for them to really practice the skills that we're giving them. So it's very skill focused mentorship. And again, we believe in family and community. So we make sure that if we need to work with parents, we will. I've learned that in the Latino community, I do find that they really need some additional services when it comes to just the language barrier. So we do have a lady that is of Latino background, and she's bilingual. So she helps us with that community when it comes to bridging a gap between how they interact with their kids. We're seeing a lot of disconnect. So we just believe in a real holistic approach, and that provides the wraparound services that we need for not just our youth, but their families and the community that they live in. It is a very leadership focused approach. We believe in developing leaders. And leadership can look different for everyone, but that's what we're here to teach. So the more that you get that self-awareness, that self esteem, that self-confidence, you learn what your leadership skills looks like for you. You learn what confidence looks like for you, and you learn how to uh, everyone may not necessarily lead by example, but you at least learn to not be a follower. And that in itself makes you a leader because now you're learning more confidence in who you are and what you want to do in life, what your goals look like. You start to think more about the things that you want in life. You're not just blowing in the wind, or things that you want out of the next season of life, which maybe you went from sixth grade to seventh grade. You're going from, I had about 5 or 6 kids over at Southern that were transitioning from middle school to high school next year, and they're thinking more about how they move in life. They can't just not do homework. They can't just wait for the teacher to tell them what they have to do. They have to learn to hold themselves accountable. And so the check-ins that we've been doing have taught them to do that. I was very pleased to hear how much they've learned since the first of the semester this year. But it's very flexible. We customize programming and work with everyone however we need to. That being said, there's a cost associated with the program. And I've dwindled it down as much as possible and pulled out anything that has to do with staff mentor training or anything like that, because like I said, the staffs that I already have on hand, or the volunteers that I already have on hand, mentors, they've had the training that we need so far. So I was able to shave off some of those costs. But when you talk about the 25 students and the different materials and the meals, we do feed them snacks and drinks, and we do bring in guest speakers sometimes. If we just do it for one semester, the 3 months is about 4,000 for each one of those groups. And then if you add group mentoring and the family engagement, where we're offering a type of training to the families so that they can also maybe get de-escalation training. They can also get trauma-informed care training. They can also get youth mental health training, because a lot of times we're pouring into staff and we're pouring into kids, but we're not giving the parents the training that they need. So unable to be able to provide that on a year basis, then the program would be total for the year, roughly 10,000 for a group. And then when you get into talking about case management and target case management and different things like that, then it's an additional 5. But I will say this, I'm willing to work with a lot of the different schools, as we already have been, to figure out what fits best. We can a la carte these programs to make sure that we're still able to offer something to our youth in any of the schools that are interested. So I don't want us to get too caught up in the cost when it comes to what we're offering, but at least let's just sit down at the table and talk about what those next steps are when it comes to how we want to proceed if you're interested in us coming into your program, coming into your school. So that being said, as I wrap up, the next steps would be, if anyone is interested in, like I said, just having a sit down with myself and my mentors, or one of my other primary mentors, then we can do that. And we can identify those schools, what those student groups looks like after that. When we say schedule orientation, that means just really going through and itemizing what you think your school really needs, what you think your group of kids really need, and how you want to go from there to schedule it, the do's and the don'ts for your school and your kids, whatever that looks like, because we want to make sure that we're still honoring the school policies and everything that we're supposed to. But we're looking to start in the 2025-26 school year. And then that is all my information for anyone who is interested. We can come back to that slide, but that is all that I have. But at the end of this, I just wanted to say personal development is a journey. It is not a destination. And that's why we love working with our kids year after year as we have. So, and I will say right now, the schools that we're in, and then I'll take questions, but the schools that we're in right now are Southern Middle School, Frederick Douglass High School, Audrey Grievous Center, uh, Audrey Grievous Center, Crawford Middle School. You start talking about the alternative schools, the Learning Center, MLK Academy, Success Academy. And I think that was O'Brien Station Middle School, High School, Dunbar. There's several. So, but that's all I have. Please, I'll take any questions. Again, thank you for having me. And I'll close this. Let me stop
Thank you
sharing my
so much,
screen.
Tanya. Does anybody have any
No.
questions?
So the first path one, once you complete that, do you reevaluate and do you do screenings? Do you engage with their families? How does that work?
So good question. After the first semester, yes, we'll do an evaluation for our students, and we're starting to do evaluations for our staff, because we do want feedback at the end of each semester, and also because I never make assumptions that they want us to come back the next year. So we'll talk with them at the end of the year, and then they'll say, yeah, we want you to come back, and we always do some type of feedback to find out, how things went and if there's anything that we need to do differently. Now, when it comes to the families, we currently deal with families on a one-on-one basis. If there's some of the kids that some of our youth that feel as though their parents need certain resources, then the staff, usually the Frisk and the youth services, those coordinators will help us get in touch with the parents to help get them any type of additional resources that they may need, and we'll go from there.
Thank you. Is there grief support involved too?
I have a connection to a grief support uh, organization. I work heavily with, I partner heavily with Kentucky Center for Grieving Children and Families. So they are one of my resources. I do facilitating for them when it comes to grief groups. And I know that they're one of my resources when it comes to if a family needed grief support, then I would plug them, I would partner them, I would plug them in with Kentucky Center for Grieving Children and Families.
Thank you.
No problem. Grief is a big one, and that's why we're trying to get more grief groups into the schools, in-school groups. I do the community groups in the evenings, like every other week with Kentucky Center. But then we're also working to get some grief groups into the churches, youth grief groups, because that's a big one in the community when you start talking about tier 2 mentoring. But any other questions? Yes.
I came in a little late trying to get in, but did I miss, is there a price for this? Was this free to students, this program?
Yeah, so there is a cost associated with each group that we facilitate. It's easier to break it down per group. And sometimes we may have 2 groups in a school. For example, at Crawford, we've got a 6th grade group and a 7th grade group. So each group that we have, MOK, we do 2 groups. TLC, we do 2 groups, middle and high school. So per group that you have of 20 students is the cost that's associated. And when we get done with this, Miss Rainey, did I say it correctly? Okay. Is going to send the slides out that I just went over to everyone so that you'll also have a digital copy of everything that I just ran through.
Thank you.
But I also said on the audio earlier, on the video earlier, that yes, while there's cost associated, I'm still willing to sit down with the different schools and just see what what we can do to try to make this program work at your school if that's what you're interested in. And I remember you. I remember you let me come and guest speak to your 5th grade for that sister and girls empowerment group. So thank you for that. Any other questions?
This is awesome. And I love to see, I saw in your first picture a couple of our Frisk coordinators in the picture.
Yeah.
But I love to see that you're already in several of our schools and doing great work. So thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you. Thank you all very much. I love working with the coordinators. You all are so great. And you've got such a passion and energy that is unmatched. I have to say that. So I love working with you all. So many of you go above and beyond. And so I love being able to see the same passion that we come in with. So I'm grateful for that. And I love it because the youth that we work with, they love the safe space that we have, and they love that not only can they learn, but we're bringing fun to it again. You're supposed to be able to add value to yourself and have fun. And so them being able to learn and have fun, a lot of the feedback that we get from the kids is they said, just knowing that it's okay to laugh when we come in here, but that y'all still serious. That's what they tell us, and that you're stern, but we know that you love us, and we know that we're learning something, we're getting skills, we're getting something. So that just warmed my heart to hear last year. So I love what I do. I really do.
Do we have any other questions? Right. Well, thank you, Tanya, so much. It was wonderful to virtually meet you. Hopefully I can meet you in person one day soon.
I agree.
Yes. And I will, if you'll share those slides with me, then I will send the video and the slides and your contact info and share it with the group. I agree. It is wonderful. Yes.
Thank you. Absolutely. I will send it as soon as I get off of here.
All right. Thank you so much. Everybody
No.
have a great afternoon.
Thank you all. You all have a blessed day. Thank you, Rainey.